Welcome back to the Ride Boundless podcast. This episode is brought to you by Ride Clean. I haven't had many sponsors on here because I haven't looked for any, but I thought this should be the product that we launched that we should talk about. And I actually got a Ride Clean promo script, and I'm just going to read the way it is. So here's how it starts. Car displayed in empty parking lot. It's day. Narrator is seen standing next to vehicle shined up with Ride Clean. Narrator, superior shine and protection for your car or motorcycle in any kind of weather. Ride Clean offers an ultra premium alternative all-in-one wash and wax waterless product. It's ideal for clients conscious of their vehicle's need for UV protection and the environmental risk of chemical exposure. Ride Clean offers a worry-free cleaning and waterproofing solution to windows, polishing leather without residue, and maintaining of paint jobs. And then it goes to bike and car display in empty parking lot. Day. Narrator stands between a motorcycle and car shined up with Ride Clean. Can you guys visualize it? And then the narrator says, wash, wax, polish, and seal within minutes using Ride Clean's ultra premium formula. Ride easy, Ride Clean, and because it's the Ride Boundless podcast, Ride Boundless. Guys, I use this on everything. It really works outstanding. I've taken it to expo shows, AIM Expo, SEMA. I sell out completely. Go to rideclean.co and use promo code RB podcast and you'll get 15% off. Again, that's rideclean.co and use promo code RB podcast for 15%. You won't regret it. It's the best thing for motorcycles and it's outstanding for cars. On this episode, we went to Riverside and checked out SoCal Supermoto. We talked to our boy Brian about what he teaches and what he does out there. He was really cool. He's a very busy guy and he took time to sit down with us and we had a very cool conversation. So let's get that started. And here we go. How are things in San Diego? And how long have you been?
Yeah, basically San Diego. I just moved to, back in the day, my, wife wanted to move to the East Coast and, I wanted to move back to San Francisco and then San Diego was a compromise. So that's how I ended up in San Diego. And that was 20 years ago. And I didn't know anything about it.
That's such a broad spectrum. East Coast, San Francisco,
yeah, it was
San Diego.
I wanted to be in California and basically didn't want to go back to San Francisco and it was completely random pick. I actually came back from the Peace Corps. I was in the Peace Corps in Vanuatu and just trying to figure out where we're going to go and just picked. It was almost like the same as throwing a dart at the, I knew I surf, so I needed to be near the coast and
San Francisco's got good surfing too. Pacific down there south. Yeah.
I was all about it when I was there and then just moved to San Diego and and I think there's kind of that split NorCal, SoCal, vibe where everybody in Northern California has an attitude about the Southern California people and everybody in Southern California is I don't know, we're cool. What's happening? So I came down and I think with, I don't know, maybe a little NorCal attitude. And then I'm everybody here is kind of dumb and happy. And then I became dumb and happy. And, now I don't want to, happy. Now I'm happy. I don't want to go anywhere. Happy. Yeah. I'm dumb and happy. And that's where I'm going to stay. And I love it. And it, I don't know. I don't want to, it's the standard cliche of you can do everything, but you can't do everything. I mean, we spend with my kids, I'm always going snowboarding, surfing, skateboarding.
How many kids do you have?
2 kids, 14 and 16. So
great ages.
Yeah, they're totally good. I can't get them out here. They're it's hot and I have to get up early. So
here we're in Riverside.
Yeah, here in Riverside. So, they're spoiled. They get to kind of choose the raddest stuff to do. But yeah, with the kids, yesterday went skateboarding. Basically I was here the day before teaching school, and then yesterday, had the kids and just went skateboarding, ate some lunch, went surfing, and that's pretty much every day. You know, that's just what we do all the time.
That sucks. That's terrible for you.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Poor man.
Just looking for some thoughts and prayers.
All right. If anybody has a job opening for this guy or can get him out of this life, please call. No, I'm kidding. No, that's awesome. That's the dream. That's is that your van? No.
Yeah, that's the van. I just did the whole like van conversion thing on it. Actually, is the second one. The first one was full on like moto van, had all the chocks in it and stuff. And then now we keep all the bikes here. So I just ripped the van apart and put it all back together. And I'm like, and then I realized after doing this big van build and doing all the research and doing all the building and all this stuff, and you know, it's got the fridge and the shower and the bed and all that stuff. And then I realized I'm really just an 8-year-old that made a fort.
Yeah.
Like that's it. But it's like a really cool fort. So
and everybody in our age would want to do the exact same thing, be an 8-year-old and build a fort with on wheels.
And like you think like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I don't know if I'm going to use it and all this stuff. And it just like, you know, every day I'm just like hanging out and I'll throw up the hammock in the back and
it's gotta be something with an instinct, right? I just did the same thing. I just got the truck. And immediately after, I bought a mattress and a tent for it. I've never slept outside. Yeah. I've never slept in a tent ever in my life.
He's never camped.
I've never camped, but immediately after, the same week, I bought that tent. Like if I was gonna use it.
You know what's funny is like everybody gets so like overthinking like the van builds and stuff, and it gets insane like how involved it gets. But when I ripped everything out and I just had a bunch of like Mexican blankets in the back, like it turns out an empty van with a bunch of Mexican blankets is pretty much just as good as like a totally built van. You're like. I'm crashing this thing. I'm changing it. Like, wait, it's great. Yeah, I'm hauling whatever I want, you know? So yeah, full time it'll have like all the surfboards and skateboards. And if I need to haul a bike, I can haul a bike. And usually it's just from the track to the mechanic. Yeah. I have an engine builder and everything else is here. So yeah, that thing's cool.
Yeah. It's so awesome. I was actually talking to Jaime about, I would love to get one of these vans and just travel the country and do podcasts and record and talk to people and, you know, bring some bikes in the back and
do it. I'm like total like van evangelist, you know, like I remember thinking like this would be cool, and it's actually cooler than I thought it was going to be. Like,
it's super cool. There's nothing cooler. I mean,
I don't think
cooler
so.
than that is probably a helicopter. I mean, that's just because I love helicopters
with lasers.
With lasers and sharks with laser, so they, you know,
that'd be good. But yeah, it's just from like the lifestyle thing, you know, like it's nice just having one vehicle with all the stuff in it, and you just take off and go, and you're good to go.
Yeah, no limits, no boundaries.
So how do you deal with the commute, San Diego, Riverside?
Yeah, you know, I've driven it. Like I just calculated, I've probably done like 1,000 school days. And I don't even like realize the drive anymore. So if I do back-to-back school days, I'll, you know, camp in the van. And
fucking amazing.
Genius. You know, it was weird because like you can do like it's a business, so you can do a write off, you can get a hotel, and you can get. But after like driving and working all day, it's nice to like not go anywhere. It's nice just to like chill out and have a beer and cook a can of chili in the gas stove, and you know, nothing fancy, and just just kind of chill out. And it's just one less mental thing to think about.
I wonder, I had a good buddy of mine, he was a director, and every time he did like a video for clients, you had to pay for him, but you also had to pay for him to use his cameras, his gear, his setup. And I always thought that was weird. I'm wondering, because you stay in the van, if you can bill yourself like as an identity separate.
Yeah, you know, we're a corporation, we do all that corporate stuff.
So it gets done?
Like everything's a write-off on that van.
Everything, Because you're right. If you stay at a hotel, that's a write-off.
That's a write-off.
If you stay off in your own van, that should be a write-off too.
Also a write-off, everything, you know, so.
The rent and the space that it takes up here in
the
lot.
New subwoofer, write-off.
Write-off,
yeah, no problem.
New surfboard, write-off.
Be a bit of a stretch, but if I put my sticker on it, it's advertising.
Marketing.
That's true.
It's marketing,
That's true. So. Let's talk about, for the listeners, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Brian, and I run SoCal Supermoto, and I teach people how to ride motorbikes a little bit better, and we ride around in squiggly circles all day.
That's awesome.
And have a really good time.
How'd you get started? Well, let's actually talk about how you got into motorcycles to begin with before you got into the business.
So I lived in San Francisco. I was on a bus, and we all know buses suck, and I looked out the window, and there was a $500 sign on I think it was a 74 CB 450 dual overhead cam, quite high tech for the time. So, and I'm like, I got $500 and I hate the bus. So that's how I got it.
So you're using the bus as transportation.
Yeah. I was like taking the bus to work, and I go, if I just give that guy $500, I could take that thing to work.
Yeah. That's
and
way
then
cooler.
got into riding. And so I did the whole like, you know, hipster cafe thing, you know, and with all vintage bikes. And then I wanted bikes that would stop. So then I went from that to like a VTR 1000, like Super Hawk, the Super Chicken. I don't know if you know that bike. But just like 1000cc, you know, sport bike, twin. And just started getting into that. And I think I fell in love with it because it allowed me to feel carving, like just like you carve on a surfboard or a skateboard. It's like, that's what got me into motorcycles, was the feeling like you're carving, and I could get that on my way to work, you know? So, you know, you'd get burned out coming off work and get on your bike, and you just wake up. I mean, you guys know this, right? Like, so you work all day, you get on your bike, you ride home, and then all of a sudden you're energized to do something else instead of just sitting on your couch and
watch Netflix.
So, yeah, especially if you're in some crappy office job, you know, you get really kind of just exhausted from doing nothing. So,
right.
I think just like everybody else, I just fell in love with motorcycles, and it's that, I think it was that simple. And then, you know, just had
any riding prior to that, any dirt bike riding or any like Mojave deserts or anything like that?
No, I was kind of self-taught, which, you know, I don't recommend, but you know, I learned in downtown San Francisco, and I went across like the Golden Gate Bridge on my first day. Total squid, like flea market helmet, t-shirt, you know, the whole super squid. And yeah, that's how I got into riding, and then just started doing, you know, just group rides and sport bikes and all that sort of stuff. And then that was pretty much it. And then I got invited to a friend. He has a backyard motocross track, and I didn't like dirt at the time at all. But I rode a YZ250 dirt bike, and I'm like, why aren't street bikes like this? And by like this, I mean fun, like super lightweight, super flickable, like incredibly fun to ride. And that's what led me to Supermoto. So then I started researching Supermoto, and I, you know, put some, you know, Supermoto wheels on my, whatever it was, LC4, you know, KTM at the time. This would have been like year 2000 or something. And, yeah, I couldn't get it. Like, I'm like, why doesn't everybody ride these bikes? They're so insanely fun. And that's what got me into Supermoto. And then, yeah, everything just kind of
actually
one after the other.
I'm sorry, Brian. How would you describe Supermoto because this has been a podcast of like broad riding,
right?
Harleys. How would you describe a Supermoto?
Well, personally, I would describe it as a motorbike.
Right. Well,
which isn't gonna like isn't what people want to hear.
Right.
You know, we live in everything's binary, right? Like, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. And, you know, a Supermoto, to me, I'm going to say what it is officially later, but to me, it's just a dual sport bike. And a dual sport bike is made to go off-road and on-road with a bias towards off-road. And to me, a Supermoto bike is the exact same, just with a bias for on-road. So it has the same kind of thing. It just works a little bit better on the street, works a little bit worse in the dirt, but you can still take it wherever you want. And just ride the hell out of it, and it's super flickable and super fun, and they handle amazing. So that's what they are to me. They're I love all motorcycles. I love Harleys, scooters, like, you know, old, you know, Vespas, dirt bikes, everything. You know, any motorcycle with engine and two wheels, I'm down. And except the Katana, like the late 90s, that thing is a piece of shit. But, you know, every other bike, you know, I just totally like them. And then that's what it was to me. It was just the purest form of riding a motorcycle. It was just an engine, a seat, and a handlebar, and some tires. And that's what I like about it.
And an LED light bar that's hanging off one side or something.
Sure. Yeah, at least one. And then, you know, officially Supermoto is a bike that is designed to ride on a track that is 80% asphalt and 20% dirt. That's it. And so when I got into Supermoto, most people didn't have the 17-inch sticky tires. You would simply take a dirt bike, you would stick a bigger brake on it if you could, some sportsman rubber, which is kind of like a dual sport, more street-oriented rubber onto it, and you'd go racing. Yeah. And, you know, some people that were really serious had already, you know, you had to build the bike yourself. You couldn't really buy the stuff. You'd be lacing hubs and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when you started in Supermoto, and I say that now because now people say it's a you know, a dirt bike with 17-inch wheels,
right?
You know, and they'll actually say, "Oh, that's not a Supermoto because it doesn't have 17s." And what I always say is, let's say there's some old crusty guy at the track who can ride the hell out of a bike, and he's on a '89, you know, XR600 with some street tires, and he's winning. You know, he's beating everybody. Are you going to say he's not riding a Supermoto, or he's not on a Supermoto bike? It's a mindset. It's a style of riding, and not more than it is a type of bike. But basically, if you're riding fast on a combo of asphalt and dirt, that's Supermoto.
Yeah, they're badasses. I recently just got into them. Jaime just bought one. We just had Spicoli on the podcast. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah, I know Spicoli.
Yeah, so we got to sit down. Her episode actually just released this Wednesday, and it was very interesting how she got into it and what it's turned into and what it's being. And that's why we're sitting down with you now and trying to pick your brain. So what made you you loved it? You got into it. What made you find Riverside and open a place like this?
So I had this little, Supermoto. That was my personal bike. And then I had friends that needed to take the DMV test. I'll try to make the story quick.
No. There's no time limit.
So I would...
Spicoli talked for 2.5 hours.
Oh, man. So I would loan my bike out to friends that needed to take the DMV test because it's a tight little circle and it's a pain in the ass on a Harley or even worse on a sport bike. So then I'm like, wow, it seems like a lot of people like to do this. So I started the DMV test bike. I got a little TW 200. And if you ever were on like Craigslist for like years, it was like DMV test bike. That was me. And every Tuesday I'd go to the DMV and hang out there, and people would use my bike to take the test. And then I would think like some of these people suck and need some help, and so I started training them in parking lots. And then so we did parking lot training, and then I was like, I was getting back into track riding, and I go, if I can only teach them so much in a parking lot. So if I could just get them to the Supermoto track, we don't need to go to like a full road race track. If I can just get them to Supermoto track, we could really work on all this stuff. And then so when I went to buy myself a bike, I bought 2 bikes, and then plus that little TW 200, and I put them all in the back of my truck, and I came here to Adams Motorsports Park, and walked in and was like, I'm going to do a Supermoto school today, and they're like, okay. That's how it started.
It was that casual?
It was that casual, and it was I think I had a class of like 4 students or 5 students, and they were like sharing bikes. So I advertised on some motorcycle forum and made it super cheap, and then it just started taking. I thought when I started this, what was going to happen is it was such a niche. It was like a niche of a niche. You had like motorcycle, you had motorcycle track days, and then you had dirt bikes, and you had like Supermoto, and it's like such a sub of everything else. So I thought like the 100 people that wanted to do it were going to do it, and then I was going to go out of business.
Yeah.
And then everybody just started coming back again and again and bringing their friends, and it just started growing and growing and growing. So that was 10 years ago, and now we have like 24 bikes. We run around 80 school days a year, and that's pretty much it. I gotta
say, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks.
That's a great success story as an entrepreneur and vision.
I mean, we made all the whole, like, if I could change certain things, like I look at mistakes I made, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But, that's part of the whole process, just learning and trucking along. But it is kind of a, bootstrap American dream kind of thing. It was a ton of work, and it really just kept plugging along, kept doing it. And then, now it just kind of seems like it took a life of its own. And we start the day by saying, like, thank you for signing up, because as I was mentioning, like, our marketing budget is zero. Most of our schools sell out. And I had one of our team riders back in the day, Tim Weeg. I was stressing about all the business stuff, right? I was talking about how, whatever was going through my mind that day, this problem with this bike or this person or bookings, blah, blah, blah. And he said the only thing that matters, we had like 5 students at the time, the only thing that matters is if those 5 people are having fun. And so that's been the focus ever since day one. Like, it's really easy to get lost in everything, but as long as you're focused on your students and they're having a good time, then everything else is going to work itself out.
Yeah.
And that's been that's honestly the model. It's that number one focus is on having a good time. And then, because when people are having fun, they learn better and they're safer. So make them have a good time and teach them a bunch of stuff along the way. We do kind of a kitchen sink approach where I'm just throwing techniques and training at them all day long. And most of the time it's not going to stick, and then they just come back and do the school again. So that's been the model. And after 10 years and all these students and all this stuff, it's still just me and my friends, and sometimes my girlfriend will come out and join, and that's rad. And
then you just post up at the end of the day and drink some beers and hang out and kick the shit. And
sometimes it's ridiculously hard. I mean, I was joking the other day. I'm like, hey, look, I'm a CEO, as I was filling 10 gas cans. Like you just, hauling around gas and bikes and lifting the generator in and out, or, whatever the case is. It's just a ridiculous amount of work. And then other times, we just ran the track all day, and then you're kicking back with your friends and having a beer, and it's a beautiful evening. And I just go like, I can't believe I get, paid to do this. So yeah, I never take any of it for granted. I'm super thankful for all of our students that I'd say at the beginning of the day, like, you guys are the reason I don't have to get a real job. Like, this job's a pain in the ass, but I love it. And, I couldn't do it without them. So, that's what it's about.
I'm sure everybody that comes here feels the opposite. They couldn't do or ride or have the confidence they need unless if you were here. So it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Question: Do you think your classes are only for supermoto bikes, or do you think everybody would benefit from it? And I kind of know the answer, but
no, it's definitely it's again, we actually say in the class, like, I don't care if you never ride supermoto again. Like, you will, because they're ridiculously fun, but we don't teach asphalt. We don't teach dirt. We teach riding to the traction you have. And that's the magic. That's where everything starts to click together. And even if they don't listen to me, if you just get on a supermoto bike and you just ride a ton of laps on a supermoto bike, the bike gives such good feedback. You do something wrong and it wiggles all over the place, but usually without crashing. So the bikes give amazing feedback, and everything you learn translates directly over to whatever bike you ride. So after riding supermoto, you get on your sport bike, you're going to get a little bit more comfortable, or your Harley or anything. You're going to get a little bit more comfortable with the bike wiggling around on you, right? You get into a situation where you go into a turn and you lose the rear end, and a new rider will automatically cut the throttle and then high side, right? Well, experience in dirt, experience with supermoto, you develop that muscle memory of you dealing with micro traction losses all day long. And you develop, even subconsciously, a knowledge that using the throttle can regain traction. And so it just teaches that. So no matter what you normally ride or whatever you like to ride, it'll translate directly over. And again, to me, they're just motorbikes. I mean, I know everybody has their camps, like everybody's like, I'm a sport bike guy. And I get people that are like sport bike riders that say, do I have to run the dirt? And I always say, well, if you're never going to ride dirt ever again, you should ride the hell out of the dirt as much as you can today, because nothing's going to, get you trained up better than that. So, I can't remember what the original question was. I just started rambling on about traction control. And
no, that's
if it was applicable, if it was applicable to
all riders,
you learn
different style riders.
I could have just said yes.
Correct. You could have, but that wouldn't have been interesting.
It's absolutely true. I mean, it's going to translate directly over.
Yeah, to everybody. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So personally, what do you ride in the street?
I don't. I don't ride street bikes anymore. I just converted one of my school bikes I put some dirt wheels on it, and I'm going to put some Dunlop D606 like enduro tires on there. And so this is the first time in, I think, 12 years that I'm going to have a personal bike. And it's still just a PRC, but I'm so busy I have another job. I work at a hospital doing CAT scans. And then I do, lately, because of COVID, we just doubled or tripled our number of days. So the class sizes are half. And then to compensate for that, we're just adding dates. So I work a ridiculous amount. And so generally, if I do have a day off, since I spend so much time with motorcycles, I'm usually going to go surf or skate or snowboard or something. But
do all of them at the same time.
Yeah,
the same day, at least.
Man, I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
But now, and I was like, you know what? We got the fleet up to spec, and I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and just keep this one and put some dirt bike wheels on it and cruise around.
That's one way to do it. I had a quick question. You were talking about you briefly said that you used to rent out your bikes at for the DMV. Yeah. And then you said street bikes are harder than Harleys to do it.
A million times harder.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, I did mine on a street glide.
Yeah,
which people thought that was nuts, but that felt very comfortable and very.
No, it's all about turning radius, honestly.
So the street bikes are the worst.
Yeah, they have no turning radius. So basically, when you go to make that tight little circle, your clip-on hits the tank, and then you end up putting your foot down, and then that's a fail. So that was
interesting.
I did that for like 13 years, every Tuesday down at the DMV, but I escaped that. 4 years ago or something.
I've told the story on the podcast before. It was basically this guy was going to let me borrow his scooter for a 6-pack of beer, and I was supposed to meet with him in the morning. He didn't show up, and I just had my street glide at that point. Yeah. I just said fuck it,
go for it.
So I did, passed. It was great.
Yeah, for everybody doing out there, you can do it on Harley. Just don't look at the front wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the biggest thing. That was like my job.
That's true.
Here, my job is telling people to get their junk up on the tank, get like far up on the bike. And at the DMV, it was telling people to stop looking at your front wheel. That's basically it.
Yeah, I've heard that. For me, it was it was giving gas while holding the back brake.
Yeah,
and it stood up the bike where I had zero effort to keep it up.
Yeah, totally.
And that was like a little tip. I saw your YouTube video. You how active have you been doing that? I saw the 5 tips, the common mistakes and stuff.
Yeah, I just started. I mean, we kind of did it initially when we got started, and then the school got just really busy, and it was just really just trying to keep everything going here. And then it was funny, like, we're like, where's, like, people are kind of entitled for their free videos. They're like, where's my video? I'm like, well, I'm busy running a school, dude. I can't make your video. Sorry, And, but it was kind of funny. I always thought that was hilarious. Like, I'm not getting paid to do this, but, and then we just started it again. So we have a whole backlog of really cool ideas that we want to do for a vlog. And, so like yesterday we shot, or the day before, the DRZ. Everyone talks about how like slow the DRZ is, and anybody who rides at the track knows the DRZ is slower, but it's not that much slower. So we're like, let's calculate exactly how slow the DRZ is. So then we put one of our semi-pro riders, one of our instructors, on his bike, and then on the school bike, recorded lap times and compared them, and have all the footage and stuff. So that's the next video that's coming out if I ever get around to editing it. But
hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, it's everything's just coming up with time, but and managing that. But yeah, I think we got it kind of down now. So they're not the greatest videos in the world, but I can knock them out pretty quick and throw it up. So yeah, it's just the SoCal Supermoto YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think all the motorcycle people need the content. I think people are always looking and searching. I mean, it's not a big niche, motorcycles. I think it's like 3% in the United States. Mm-hmm. But there's enough people that are looking for that content.
Definitely, they're passionate. So
they're passionate.
The way I like to think about it is like everybody has their place, like, and you kind of have to hit everything. So there's like people that are like old dudes that are just Facebook, other people just Instagram, other people just YouTube, other people just podcasts, and so you kind of throw it out, see what sticks, and so that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean that's how we got here.
Yeah,
just trying different things out. Collaboration, sponsorships, Instagram. And then all of a sudden we're doing a podcast, and it seems like it's beginning.
Yeah. I can't keep up with any of it. Like if I get post up 1 or 2 things, like people seem to be like professional, like Instagrammers. And if I can get like a picture or 2 up, and it's kind of sad because we actually have all kinds of really cool video, tons of stills and all this stuff, like really cool stuff. And there's just so much time.
It's amazingly simple and difficult. To run and manage an Instagram page.
It's also like this whole life balance thing. And I was just talking about this morning because I I pulled all these like tires out of my van, and it's like 25 brand new Dunlops, and it looked pretty cool. And I'm like, it changes the way you look at things. Like instead of just, it takes you out of the moment, right? Like normally it just like me and talking to my friend, like, and then it becomes like I should share this. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's same thing with being a photographer. It's like a curse, right?
Curse. Yeah, definitely.
Like you can't just like go and look at something pretty. Like all of a sudden you got to look at like the lighting and what I'm going to do. And like you can't, just simply enjoy stuff and be in the moment. And that would be like one of my dreams. Like if I could, like my fantasy is like one day I'm like, I'll have one motorcycle and I won't be on social media. Like like that's my current dream, and I'll just like hang out in my van and surf and ride, for
and just stay present.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I think that's also consistent with any business owner. You're never off. I always say it's kind of like being in school and you'd have like a paper, like there's always projects to do. There's always something that you should be focused on or you should be doing. And so that's kind of the downside of being an entrepreneur, is that you're always on. It's really hard to turn it off. It's really hard to get that.
You're always on. Ideas are always being created, and you don't know what's right and what's wrong. And most of the shit you probably do is going to be wrong, but you learn something from it, and you continue. Until you hopefully get it right.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody ever gets it right. I think it's just a never-ending, fucking journey of trying to be fucking successful, whatever.
When something works, it never stops.
Right.
Look at yourself. Like you keep working unlimited amount of hours in this, so it keeps working.
Right. And when the COVID stuff done, we didn't have schools for a month and a half. Like I was saying, like right now, it feels like when you have a sick kid, like you want to be there. Like even if there's somebody else that could take care of the kid, like you want to, like I feel kind of that way right now. So I've actually taken like days off my other gig in order to run the school days here, because I just like right now during this transition, I just felt like I like wanted to be here myself, you know.
So you're here in Riverside. You live in San Diego. You work at the hospital, and I think you mentioned that you were in a band, or you're in a band.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, like the amount of stuff that I'm doing. Yeah, I'm in a band, Lonesome Lowdowns, lonesomelowdowns.com.
Shout out.
And I don't know. I guess that's the list of stuff, like band, surfing, skateboarding, you know, kids. This isn't in priority. Just snowboarding, and then the business. Really, really busy.
What about traveling? Like any global world traveling?
I did that like so much in my 20s, and I kind of, in a way, burned out on it. That lasted, but now I'm starting to get the bug again. Like I want to do like a surf trip, Portugal. I just want to go to Portugal and grab like a van and stuff, like surfboards in there and a mattress, and just go up and down the coast surfing. That's like my latest, you know,
that sounds
travel,
like a great
travel fantasy.
Have you ever taught Supermoto or had, you know, writing classes outside of Riverside or in a different state, different country?
I mean, when we were smaller, we would go to the different tracks. We'd go, definitely not different state. One time I got a call to go to Philippines, but that didn't work out. And then I've had a lot of people encourage, like, get a semi truck and start traveling with this and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like you would do with like the Superbike school or something. And it's just too, like, I get exhausted just even thinking about it. Like I'd rather have, 1/3 the amount of people, but just have it here and just have like a home track and have it easy and cool.
You have it
fun.
easy.
And people all the time, well, when are you going to come to New York? And I'm like, why don't you come here? Like, you just bring you. I have to bring 25 bikes. How about you just bring you?
Yeah,
and then
fucking hang out in California, enjoy it, take a picture of the Hollywood sign, and fucking.
It's cool. Every winter we get the Canadian migration. Like every winter, like all the Canadians start coming down, and the New Yorkers and all the cold weather people start coming out, which is brilliant because it's hot. Frankly, it's hot here in the summer. Still fun. We got the double, air conditioning classroom now. Thank God. But but in the winter, like it's this place is awesome. It's like 65, 70 degrees. It doesn't usually rain. It's like green. It's actually pretty. So, that's an ideal time to do the school.
Yeah, I think this whole area, Riverside, and then Palm Springs would be the next, major desert is perfect. What is it? November till April.
Yeah.
It's just paradise weather.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, New York and Canada and all these other fucking states.
I'm sure they're awesome and I want to go there. I'm just busy with my little school.
Yeah, but during those times, I mean, it's just buried in snow.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about doing? What's the future for you guys? What are you guys going to head to? Are you guys going to do like travel packages, flight packages, like maybe even do a New York package and say, hey, do the class and flights included?
I mean, honestly, we do the In-N-Out burger thing.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of like, you go there and it's like cheeseburger, hamburger, shake, fries. Well, I want this. Fuck you can't have it. You know what I mean? It just makes it a lot easier and more. One thing I hate is when, like, not saying motorcycle schools, but just businesses in general, they start doing all these add-ons. Oh, you want the photo package? Okay, the photo package is $49.99.
Right.
So for us now, we raise rates a little bit, so it's $2.99, and that's bike, training, track fees, photography, T-shirt, lunch. We give out some swag and high fives and call it a day.
And it just makes it. That's 1 day, 2 days.
That's 1 day.
That's 1 day.
All inclusive, and so it just makes it like so easy. Like, well, can I have this? No. But just come out. You're going to dig it, and it just makes running the business easier. And then that's what I like as a consumer.
Right.
Like they call it the paradox of choice, which is basically people are more likely to spend until they have too many choices and then they spend less. I'm like that. I can only shop at Trader Joe's. If I go in Vaughn's, like freak out. I'm like, there's like 16 different mayos. I need one mayo.
I do that shit with the vending machine. As soon as I go to the vending machine, I go, fuck, man. Like I wanted water, but the Diet Coke and the regular Coke and the Pepsi.
Yeah.
It is challenging. There's too many choices.
But that could just be my bias, but it's worked for us, and that's what I really like doing, just making it really good value and just making it simple. And
if it ain't broken, don't
yeah. And it's the vibe is always like, we're here, we're having a good time. When you're ready, come join us. There's never a hard push, like, well, I can't do it into this, and maybe if you do this, well, whenever you're ready, we're going to be here. We do this year round, and we've been here 10 years. We're planning on being here another 10 years. So it's nice that we're in a position now that everything, we can just look at it long term. We don't have to chase a booking or like, okay, yeah, I guess I can do that, but you want to ride this bike? And, we can just be like, this is what we're doing. It's really cool. And hope you can join us. And that's kind of the mindset.
Out of the COVID times, which are weird times for everyone, how many people pass through the school every month? Approximately.
So 0 in like March and April, and then as soon as the track opened up, then we could go to kind of like half size classes. So we keep it very simple. We're basically sanitizing the hell out of everything, wiping down all the bikes, masks on.
I mean, without counting the COVID times.
Yeah.
Usually,
just in general, it's like
1,000
students a year.
A year.
1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the summer months, are you guys open, like fully actively open when it's super fucking hot? Like
I just tell people like, don't book it now. And they go, but I'm going to book it now. And I go, okay. And then, so the summer days all sell out. It's fine. It's when people are traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It used to be bad when we didn't have the classroom. It was super hot. And, but now it's not a big deal. You go out there, you get sweaty and dirty, you come out here and chill in the air conditioning for like, 20, 30 minutes. I teach you something, you get kind of refreshed, have something to drink, go back out on the track. So honestly, the summers, it's not that bad. And, it's sounding like the whole cheesy West Coast thing. It's like the whole dry heat. It is a dry heat. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So
what's the class? And let's just go over the package. So you pay $299, you get into the class. What do I have to bring a helmet? Do I have to bring boots? What does it include? What do I expect throughout the day?
Yeah, so we'll just say during normal times, you don't have to bring anything. You can bring snacks if you want. Basically, just during non-COVID times, you just because right now we're just not doing like food. Like we usually provide food, and we're not having people share food, and do a lot of gear rental and that sort of stuff. But yeah, you can basically show up. I say bring whatever gear you have, then we can kind of fill in the gaps. So we do have all the gear we have is just like courtesy. We just have a bunch of leathers and helmets and boots and stuff. And so if you need something, you're welcome to it. It's free. There's no like upcharge for gear rental or anything like that. But you come here, you sign in at the office, get an armband. Like I said, everything's taken care of for you. So you just come in the classroom, we have you sign your life away on a release, and the first session out on the track is just lead follow. Like I literally give the homework assignment of ride around and don't crash. That's the first time out on the track. We're just going slow, cruising around, getting some heat in the tires, seeing where the track goes, seeing how the bike feels. And then every time we come back, I give the students a new homework assignment. So, all right, we're going to work on in slow, out fast. We're going to work on being smooth by not having the suspension move, or whatever the case may be. We have a bunch of different drills that we'll run during the day. And halfway through the day, when people are looking good on the asphalt, we open up the dirt section. So the track is 80% asphalt, 20% dirt. And then we'll be running that for the rest of the day. And usually around 3 o'clock, I'm teaching and I look out and everybody's just like spaced out. They're just so exhausted and tired. So, all right, we're gonna free ride now. And then we just end the day with some, the staff will, the staff that's been working all day, they'll hop on bikes and go join the students and just rip around. And then we just pack up around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I drive back to San Diego and upload a bazillion pictures and do a little bit of editing and stuff. And then we send an email out with everybody's pictures. And like I said, just try to keep it as simple and as fun as possible. That's always that's always a priority. Just ripping around and having a good time.
Just keep it simple. And then would you recommend this for anybody, depending, like for a new rider that's never ridden, for a professional rider? Or do the classes separate based on riding experience?
And do you need the license to?
Good question. So don't need a license because we're on private property. So you need to have basic control of the motorcycle. So go forward, turn left, turn right, stop the bike. You're good. If you're a new rider that's only done the MSF course and maybe had a couple days on a bike, we have those little TTR 125s. We can put them on that and lead them around the track. And what's interesting is that when we've had advanced racers out and they're new to Supermoto, right? And then we've had in the same class a new rider who's only been riding a couple months. And what's fascinating, a lot of times I'm telling them the same thing,
right?
Especially a lot of the Supermoto specific stuff. So I don't know why it works, but it totally works having riders at different levels, because that was always a design. Like, do we need to do level 1, level 2, level 3? And instead, as I mentioned before, we just do the kitchen sink. We just throw stuff at them all day. And so with the more advanced riders, more of that will stick. And some of the super new riders, they might be just focused on counter steering and steering with their chin and staying and breathing and staying loose on the bike. And that's great, because that's what they need. And I can actually tell riders, like, you can pretty much ignore this talk about trail braking or, you know, whatever this case may be. You're not there. And what I mostly need you to do is just focus on just breathing and relaxing and having a good time. And what I'll tell with a lot of new riders is that, you know, like none of this advanced technique stuff does you any good at all if you're tense. Yeah. So it's almost like that's one of the main battles is just getting to people to relax. Yeah.
That's interesting because just looking at how teachers and how people teach, they usually want people to be stressed out and be like on their tip of the toes and kind of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And the teachers like that. But, you know, anything you do, you should just be fucking relax and accept it.
Yeah, and then even if you wanted to get like, you know, you'll find out the truth that way when people are relaxed. And same thing with when they're riding. No, it's the opposite. You know, I just like make fun of them or make fun of myself or crack jokes. And, you know, it's because you need people to be loose. If they're tight, if they're stressed out, they're not having fun and they're not riding safe. So that's the rub. Yeah,
everything's robotic. They're viewing limited. They're turning limited. They're thinking about everything. Yeah, it's definitely a bad way to ride.
When I tell people is that we've done this so long, like we know everything you're going to do wrong, right? And so basically, like we know how to get you faster. We know how to get you safer. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So we just need you to go slow because you can go slow and suck. That's fine. You can go fast and ride really well. You just can't suck and go fast, right? Yeah. Like you're like, I got this. Like, you know, like no dude out in the school, like I got this. And we're like, what we do is I kind of make a deal with the students. I go in the morning, we're going to work on technique. We're going to go really slow. We're going to work on just getting used to the bikes and the track and learning the techniques. And in the afternoon, nobody's going to tell you to slow down. So, and then when we do it that way, they don't develop bad habits. They don't crash. They don't get hurt. They ride longer. So there's no downside in it at all. And that's been working really well, but it's just all these really small changes that you just learn. I learn from my students. I learn from other people I ride with, learn from just experience, and we kind of fine tune the whole thing. So now we have really like strict curriculum, but it certainly didn't start that way. It just kind of developed and see what works.
It makes sense that it'd be pretty strict.
Yeah. So it's great.
Is accidents? Are there accidents or?
Yeah.
And have they dropped over the years because of getting stricter?
Huge. Oh man.
You want to do? I guess percentages.
That's probably I mean, in an average day, we have this new coating on the track. It's super sticky. I think we had one crash today. I think lately we've had 0 to 1 crashes. In the old days, like before we had that focus, people would just go for it. Like I remember there's like a dude crashed 3 times in a session, like in one 20-minute like session. And so there's been a big change in emphasis and just all kinds of little things. Like at the beginning of the day, we'll put stickers on the track that mark turn-in points. And that prevents people from turning in too early and then giving additional inputs and crashing. So, all kinds of little changes that we made have greatly reduced crashes. And what I tell people is like, okay, if you know what you're doing and you're hauling ass around some sweeper and you're going 70 miles an hour on your high side, I'm like, okay, that's a good story. That's a good crash, right? But if you're just new and you have cold tires and you turn in too early and you break your clavicle, like there's nothing cool about it. You know what I mean? So there's no real function in riding above your level.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to impress us.
I think that's one of the top accidents. And again, I've probably said this so many times, but the 2 top ones are turns. People just taking turns. They go into the other lane. They go off a cliff. But turns is a big accident, and intersections. You know, they just think they're faster than the car, and the car's making the left.
Oh yeah, the whole left-hand turn in front.
Yeah, that I just seen too many of those.
Yeah, and that happens during the school. I actually say, I'm going to get serious with you for 20 seconds, you know, like, and I talk about this crash that happens where people turn in too early and then they go into the tires. And I go, what happens in this situation is they get dirty. I have friends that are dead. I have friends that are paralyzed from doing that exact mistake, but they did it on the street. So it's like, this is the place to screw up. If you're going to make the mistakes, like this is the place to do it where the consequences are like, you know, now every once in a while we'll have like a broken ankle, you know, but injuries are way down. And it's going good. But little things, you know, like tires are super sticky. The track is great. Turn in markers, keeping them slow, you know, and then that works out really, really well.
That's fucking awesome.
How often do you have to do service on these bikes?
Constantly.
They are running all the time?
Yeah, it's like, the whole painting a bridge thing. You finish painting a bridge and then you start painting the other side again. You never actually stop painting it. So every morning we do like just the basic check. So we're checking pads, water, oil, tire pressures, tire. That's on all bikes. And then we have like little tip overs and stuff like that in the dirt all the time. So we'll be fixing levers or controls or whatever the case is during the day. And then we do semi-frequent oil changes and frequent tire changes. And then back in the day, it's like the whole thing, like things I learned, I kind of held on to the bikes too long. So now we'll have perfectly good bikes and we'll just sell them and then buy another fresh bike. And it's not like the person who's getting it is getting they're getting a pretty hammered bike, but it's usually a lot of times like I'll do that and the bike will just keep running forever. But that saves us the hassle of having to do like motor builds or anything like that. So like if there's any one bike in the fleet, and I just tell my staff, I'm like, if there's a bike you don't like, just get rid of it. Like we don't need to spend, as a business, it doesn't make sense to spend all kinds of times getting things sorted. Just sell it, get another one, and keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then actually the oil changes. How often do those oil changes have to be done? Piccoli told us
every 7
5
hours
minutes
or something.
Every 5 minutes.
Every
I mean,
20
he does races, so it's different. I'm
It
guessing
is. Yeah, with performance bikes, it's. The DRZ is like the Honda Civic of motorcycles, and it just keeps going. So we just throw some oil in. Honestly, I don't even. Maybe every couple months we'll throw some oil in there.
It's not that often.
It's not that. Like right now, we're just going through the fleet, so they just did they'll do 6 oil changes a day.
Yeah,
and then we'll let it go for a couple months and then go and do it again. So we don't have any strict schedule where we're looking at this and that. It's just
no amount of miles or hours that you guys measure.
We don't even it's too much. We got too many bikes. It's like you could spend.
I mean, you do check the level and.
Oh yeah, all the time. So basically, when you have a good running bike that runs a little bit rich, so it doesn't get too hot and doesn't get too overworked, right? So we'll jet the carbs so they run a little bit rich. We'll set them up initially. We'll get fresh oil, fresh water, fresh tires, fresh brake pads, and then ride the hell out of it. That's the whole point of having a DRZ, is not having to I got 10 hours, I got to adjust my valves or change the oil, or, whatever. So I couldn't imagine, honestly, I couldn't imagine doing this with any other bike.
Yeah. Is there any other thing you want to cover on the podcast?
No, man, just
any messages, any words of advice, any wisdom?
I would like everybody to pray for world peace. World peace.
So how many people repeat the course?
Most of them. So it's good. It's actually,
That's a great question.
It's every class I always ask, who's done the school before, and it's almost every single time it's a third to a half the class. So usually there's somewhere between 4 and 6 riders in the class who have already done the class. So yeah, that happens all the time. Because
I was telling you at the beginning before we started that every single person that has recommended us to come talk to him is because everybody that does it has a great experience here, and they all love
Yeah, it's all family. All these guys that are out riding, every single time we go to the track, they're all the old students.
It's like they're paying you to hang out.
So they do. Well, they'll do the school 2 or 3 times and get the hang of it, and then they get addicted to Supermoto because that's how it is. And then they buy a Supermoto, and then they buy a van, and then they're here all the time, and and so it's so cool. Just I'll have just regulars. We'll take my students to the side and be like, hey, you need to do this or whatever. It's just all one big family. And Supermoto is you just go over to anybody in the pits. You might know them, might not really know them. You'd be like, man, that's a sweet bike. They'd be like, take it out. It happens all the time. You just go, hey, give it a go,
That's fun.
And I'm not saying that's 100% of people, but that happens, a lot. Yeah, you can. So it gives you the opportunity to just try all different kinds of stuff, and it's super fun. But,
so my question would be, I have to get the bike first, then the van, or the van, then the bike?
Oh man, you better just get them both
at the same time.
Yeah, just
paint them the same fucking color and just get over it.
Yeah.
Same financing.
Yeah, but as far as just, I think it's just I would say just do all the schools. That's probably the best money you're going to spend. Go do Rich Oliver's and Mystery School, Flat Track School, and then do the California Superbike School, whatever. I'm not saying one or the other. Just if
do them all.
This business is so hard that if somebody's been around, they're probably pretty good.
Right.
And nobody has any a monopoly on the knowledge. Like I'm the chosen one. I know these things that the other schools don't. No, it's all delivering a lot of the same material, delivered a little bit different, and it'll suit different styles. And that's the best money you can spend on motorcycles. I would say that would be my, like, as far as what I would want to end on, I would say go to schools. They're super fun, and learning how to ride properly makes motorcycles safer, but also a lot more fun. That's what people don't focus on. A lot of times they focus on like the safety thing.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I would just say, as long as I'm just up here giving unsolicited advice to the world, don't take it so seriously. Like everybody, like I said before, is kind of like, no, I'm an enduro guy. I'm a dirt bike guy. They're just motorbikes. They're toys. Like they're toys that can kill you. So you kind of got to get trained in them, and you got to respect them. But at the end of the day, that's what they're here for. They're here as like implements of joy. But it's true, so just ride all the things. Ride it all. They're all super fun. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one style of riding or identifying with a type of bike. Like
so you would practically say ride boundless.
Yeah.
Be limitless.
Yeah. Just get on and go.
Just get on and go.
Yeah. Right.
So if you had to pick only one motorcycle to wake up tomorrow and ride, and you don't work on this track and doing the courses, what would you pick?
Oh man, I'm gonna give you the most old man answer ever. I love just like a DR 650 dual sport bike, like just like the oldest, geekiest, air cooled dinosaur. Like I love just a bike that just like the type of bike you just get on and not think about a thing, and it's not gonna like flick you off or kill you, and you can just ride miles and miles and miles. So yeah, just like I like an old air cooled dual sport. That's like what I'm in, because then it's actually more about the ride than it is about, because most bikes are way beyond the ability of the rider, including me, like way beyond my ability. So it's kind of more fun to get on just small, just in general, just small, simple bikes. I wish I had a better answer for that one, but lately that's what I've been hankering towards. It's just like I said, I just converted this DRZ, so I'll go dual sport riding with a DRZ and some dirt wheels, but I can't even pick one. I like a lot of bikes.
Yeah, and you shouldn't limit yourself to just one.
Yeah.
Well, proof of it, you have 25.
Yeah. Jesus.
I know, and the worst part is we have multiple bikes.
Yeah,
it's really
and
hard.
we don't even work on it.
Yeah.
But which one do you actually ride? Like, how many bikes do you have, and then which one? Like, I read this Cycle World story a long time ago, and it was about voting with your keys. And like, so what's your favorite bike? And people would be like, my 1199 Panigale or whatever. Yeah. And then, because they think that's what they're supposed to say, but pay attention and actually look at
the mileage.
Look at what keys you grab. Every time you go out to your garage, if you always grab the dirt bike or the Harley.
I have a dilemma. I really do. I have a 2020 Streak Light Harley Davidson. I got a 2020 GSA, BMW GSA. Yeah. And when I had the Harley before the GSA, I was riding the Harley obviously all the time. Then I got the GSA and I did not ride the Harley. And now 3 months in, recently I've been riding more. Well, now the BMW, they both had no miles. The BMW has almost 4,000 miles and the Harley has almost 2,000, but recently I've been riding it much more.
Yeah,
I don't want him to know this, but it's true. I've been riding the Harley a lot more. So
well, it doesn't insult me or anything.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing that besides voting with your keys is like pay attention instead of thinking like what this bike does. We kind of talked about with the van. Like, don't worry about what it does or what it's supposed to do or whatever. Like, there's another measure that people don't, which is how does it make you feel? Yeah, like that's what you should actually be paying attention to, because like, oh, Harleys are slow. Well, you're not racing on the street anyway. Just go with the one that makes you feel good. Right. And
no, it's like the easiest way. It's so tricky. I think how I feel right now is the Harley is a classic hot rod car for me, and that's definitely what I want to take if I'm going up Ventura, if I'm going to Hollywood, if I'm going somewhere, that's a little, even the local bar. I'm
posing.
Yeah. I got to pose. I got to put on my Harley. That's what the Harley's for, and then the BMW, it's like
for everything else.
For fucking everything else. I mean, you're going to the beach, you're going to the grocery, even.
I think you just picked.
But now I have clarification on my answer from before. Yeah, because I started thinking about old man bikes, because that's what we call old man. Like, you have the bike that even if you don't ride, you're going to keep it for whatever. Right. And I was like, oh, like a 68 Bonneville. Like, I love old Triumphs. Like, I think I just kind of answered it for myself when I was talking about how does it make you feel. Like, that's my favorite bike to just hop on.
That
and
makes
like,
you feel the best.
Like, I feel cool as fuck on an old Triumph. I love those things. And anybody who just look at you like, oh, look at the old guy on the old bike. But to me, that is like, that's what that bike is what made me want to ride motorcycles. I was outside some club and somebody like just fired it up.
Well, it kind of brings you back to the first bike that you had, but with more money.
Yeah, man, I love it. But they also like, it's cool. They have a little like narrow tank. They're not all like super fat and stuff. And again, big wide handlebars and
the cafe.
For how long do you have your CB 450?
Oh man, I swore off all vintage. I had like over my life, I had like 50, no, not that many. I don't know, like 8 vintage Hondas. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. No more vintage Hondas. And if I get another vintage bike, I'll get an old Triumph or an old Norton. But yeah.
My first bike, actually, now that I recall it, my first street bike I got in San Francisco from a good friend of mine. Her name was Maloa, and she had a 1981 Honda Shadow.
Yeah.
And it was, she lived by the ocean. That thing was completely rusted, just gone to shit.
Yeah.
And I she's like, you can have it. I gave her like $100, $200, stuff like that. I was like, cool, picked it up. And then I just started cleaning that fucking thing up, and then it started, and then I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, it's on.
And then from there, that's how I got into the street bikes.
Actually,
I just remember that when you said it.
We have that when at the end of the day, when I try to get them to kind of cool down, and I go, when you started riding motorcycles, you didn't care about compression ratios and tire compounds and rebound dampening clicks, or lap times. Like, you just hopped on some piece of shit, and you rode down the street or you rode down the trail, and it was magic. Right. And tap back into that. Like, do that for your last session of every track day. Like, literally check out the mountains and the trees and back it off 10% and just cruise around and, feel what it feels like to just be on your own little personal rocket ship. Because I know that I ruined my own riding by only trying to go fast or only trying to get better. And then, I kind of lost sight of that. And so now maybe it's just getting more mature and just not worrying about it, like just getting out there and riding around and feeling what it feels like to be on a motorbike, because it's still about that. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's a valid point, because I think when people are riding, they're always thinking about what the people behind them are thinking, the people in front of them, and once they get to the stop sign, are people looking at me? Do I look as cool as I'm supposed to look? I'm gonna take this turn. Do I look like this on the turn? Realistically, when they're just enjoy the ride.
Especially if I'm around you taking pictures.
Just enjoy the ride.
That's a whole different technique. We talk about winning Instagram and then winning races, and they're two separate things.
Two separate races.
I always, we were with a big crew of like 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
And there's guys that are like, oh, no, we got to go canyons and go fast. And I was like, well, nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
Because in the picture you were stopped.
Yeah.
So who cares? If you're taking that as long as you're leaning, it looks like you're going fast. It doesn't really matter.
We start every day with have you heard about the person who won SoCal Supermoto?
No.
Right. You can't win SoCal Supermoto. Like, nobody cares. Like, right. I go, I'm going to tell you something you're not going to hear at any other school, but it's true, and that's nobody gives a fuck how fast you are. Like, nobody cares. Like, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Like, so. But we do care. Everybody will care if you're riding safe. Everybody will care if you have a good attitude. Everybody will care if you're a nice person. Nobody really cares. Like, it's like all this like internal like thing that you were talking about, like what people think or whatever. So, ride better, learn the techniques, and makes riding a lot more fun, makes it safe, and just have a good time.
Absolutely. Where can we find you on social media, YouTube?
Yeah, I'm on all the YouTubes.
Under what?
SoCal Supermoto, YouTube, Instagram, SoCal Supermoto. Web, SoCalSupermoto.com. Starting to see a theme here.
Booking through the website?
Facebook, SoCal Supermoto.
What? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So for bookings, how far in advance are you booking now?
I think we're sold out for the next couple of weeks, but there might be like a weekday spot here and there. But in general, they tend to sell out. Usually we have a bit of flexibility, so I can add dates if they tend to sell out, but there's just a calendar, and it's just, at SoCalSupermoto.com. You can click on the calendar. It'll say how many days are open for each day, or how many spots are open for each day. So you can calculate it that way and go to town.
Okay, sounds good, man.
Awesome, Brian. Thank you for your time, and we'll be following up and see you very soon.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. And let me know when you want to come ride.
Absolutely, we will.
Good, man. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks you guys.
And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ride Boundless podcast. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. More importantly, share. If you know anybody that's in the motorcycle or car industry or is a fanatic or whatever the case is, let them know about this podcast. Sharing is caring. If you've already subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, make sure to do it. Until next week, ride safe, ride hard, ride boundless.